July 23rd, 2021, Matty G, Bronx, New York. The woods were weirdly quiet, too quiet. The kind of silence that felt like the world was holding its breath. It was supposed to be a fun camping trip, just me and two friends, Sarah and Mia, getting away from the city for a weekend in the forest. We'd been planning it for months and I was excited, but something felt strange from the start. We set up our tent in a small clearing surrounded by thick trees. The air was fresh, crisp, and the only sounds were birds chirping and leaves rustling in the wind. At first, it was perfect. Sarah and Mia were busy unpacking supplies, laughing and joking about what we'd do later. I was the one setting up the fire pit, trying to focus on the task at hand. It wasn't until dusk started to fall that things began to feel unsettling. The trees grew denser as the sun dipped behind the horizon, and the shadows stretched longer, twisting unnaturally. We built a fire, and for a while everything was normal. We sat around it, talking and roasting marshmallows. But as the fire flickered and cast eerie shadows, I started to feel watched. I brushed it off as paranoia. After all, we were in the woods. It was normal to feel a little uneasy. But then Mia spoke up. "Do you guys hear that?" We both paused, straining to listen. There was a low rustling sound. Of course, it could be animals or wind, but it was very deliberate. "I don't hear anything," Sarah said, but I could see the uncertainty in her eyes. "I swear I just heard something," Mia repeated, her voice shaky now. I felt a chill explode from my spine, but I didn't want to admit how uncomfortable I was. "It's probably just a raccoon or something," I said, trying to sound confident. But as soon as the words left my mouth, the rustling stopped. Sarah laughed, but I could tell it was nervous. "I think we're all just a little jumpy," she said. "Let's go to bed soon. We'll feel better in the morning." The three of us retreated to our tents, but sleep didn't come easily. The sounds of the forest outside seemed to grow louder as the night deepened. Every snap of a twig, every wind-blown branch scratching against the canvas kept me on edge. I must have dozed off at some point, but I woke up suddenly feeling disoriented. The tent was pitch dark, and I felt like I was alone. I fumbled around, reaching for my phone to check the time. The screen lit up, 3:17 a.m. I called out to Sarah and Mia, but there was no answer. Panic surged in my chest. I unzipped the tent and poked my head out, but the fire had long since died down, and the clearing was now just a sea of shadow. I couldn't see the glow of their sleeping bags or even hear their breathing. "Sarah? Mia?" My voice cracked in the stillness. No reply. I told myself I was being irrational. They were probably just going to the bathroom. But then, the rustling came again. It was closer this time. So close it sent a cold wave of dread through me. I grabbed my flashlight and ventured outside, calling out to them. "Sarah? Mia?" The flashlight beam cut through the darkness, but there was nothing. No sign of either of them. The trees stood like sentinels, silent and unmoving. My pulse raced as my mind began to spiral. Where the hell were they? I walked further, heart hammering in my chest. The rustling was now a steady rhythm, but I tried to ignore it as I was focused on locating my friends. I turned, expecting to see them, but there was nothing. Just the sound of my breath and the rustling that seemed to grow louder with every step. I tried to stay calm, telling myself I was just scared and that I would find them. But as I walked deeper into the woods, I noticed something strange. The path we had walked on earlier had vanished. There were no clear markings, no familiar landmarks. The forest stretched out endlessly before me. The trees now too close, the air thick and suffocating. Panic was setting in. I was lost. Really, truly lost. And my friends were gone. Sarah! Mia! I screamed again, but my voice was swallowed by the dark. My flashlight flickered, the beam weakening. I cursed and shook it, but it refused to brighten. That's when I heard the definite, unmistakable sound of footsteps. But they weren't mine. They were too heavy, too deliberate, and they were all around me. Could it be my friends? I spun around, but there was no one there. I backed away, my breath coming in ragged gasps. Something was moving in the woods, something I couldn't see but could feel, closing in. My heart thudded painfully in my chest as I realized the truth. We weren't alone, and whatever was out there had been waiting for us to get lost. I don't know how long I stumbled through the dark, running on pure adrenaline, but when I finally collapsed on the forest floor, my flashlight had died completely. The silence that followed was suffocating, broken only by the distant sound of something, no, someone, breathing in the dark. I hadn't found Sarah or Mia. The hours turned into days, and I was still out here, weak and mostly unresponsive, somewhere in the woods. I hear their voices sometimes, soft, calling me. But when I try to follow, I find nothing but more trees, more shadows. The hell had only just begun when I was found by hikers. Between the search parties, the police and news crews, and the distraught parents, my life was not my own. I thought the fear of being lost and never finding my friends was the worst of it. But it's the quiet that's worse now. The way the nights bring back their voices in my sleep. The way I feel now when someone is watching me, just out of sight, waiting. I don't know if Sarah or Mia are still alive. I don't even know if they're out there anymore. Every corner I turn, every time I think I see something in the distance, I wonder if it's them, or if it's already too late for all of us.